Hello and welcome to Care Conversations, brought to you by Nurse Registry. This is your trusted space for straightforward and useful health topics that matter the most to you and your family. From managing chronic conditions to understanding what quality nursing care really looks like, we're here to empower you with knowledge that makes a difference. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about something that affects nearly 800,000 Americans every year: stroke recovery. If you or someone you love is navigating life after a stroke, you're probably feeling a little overwhelmed. You got questions. You're looking for clear, practical guidance on what actually helps. And maybe you're wondering if meaningful recovery is even possible. Here's what I want you to know right from the start. Your brain has an incredible ability to heal itself through something called neuroplasticity. That's essentially your brain's power to reorganize and create new neural pathways to work around damaged areas. It's truly remarkable when you even think about it. The first 3 to 6 months after a stroke are absolutely critical. This is when your brain is at its most adaptable and responsive to rehabilitation. But here's something important. Don't let anyone tell you that recovery stops after those initial months. With consistent practice and dedication, meaningful improvements can continue for years. Today, we're going to walk through 10 essential recovery strategies that can make a real difference in your rehabilitation journey. We'll cover everything from the importance of early intervention to protecting your mental health, from home exercises to building a strong support network. Each tip is backed by evidence and designed to be actionable, meaning you can actually put into practice starting today. Because stroke recovery isn't just about regaining movement or speech, it's about reclaiming your life. So, let's dive in. Before we get to the tips, let's talk about what makes stroke recovery possible in the first place. It all comes down to neuroplasticity. Again, this is your brain's incredible built-in ability to rewire damaged neural connections and build new pathways around the injury. Think of it like your brain creating detours when the main road is blocked. The most dramatic reorganization happens during those first 3 to 6 months after a stroke. This critical window is when your brain is at its most flexible and responsive, which is why intensive rehabilitation during this period is so important. Through neuroplasticity, healthy regions of your brain can actually take over responsibilities that were previously handled by the stroke-damaged areas. With repeated, purposeful practice, this adaptive process helps you regain movement, speech, thinking skills, and independence. There's a principle in neuroscience that explains how this works. Quote, neurons that fire together, wire together, unquote. Basically, every time you repeat a therapeutic exercise, whether it's practicing a leg movement, forming words, or working on a cognitive task, you're stimulating specific neural pathways. With each repetition, those connections get a little stronger, gradually rebuilding your brain's ability to control the affected parts of your body and mind. This is exactly why early, intensive rehabilitation produces better outcomes than waiting or doing therapy sporadically. Now, here's something important. While the first 6 months is the peak period for neuroplasticity, your recovery doesn't end there. Progress might come more gradually after that initial window, but it absolutely continues. Research shows that stroke survivors who stick with consistent rehabilitation exercises see measurable improvements in 2, 3, and even 5 years after their stroke. Your brain keeps its adaptive capabilities throughout your entire life. So if you're listening to this months or even years after your stroke, don't lose hope. It's never too late to start therapy and work toward meaningful improvements. All right, let's get into our first tip. 1. Start rehabilitation early and make it intensive. Early rehabilitation initiation maximizes neuroplasticity by capitalizing on your brain's heightened adaptability immediately following the stroke. Stroke survivors who begin intensive therapy within 24 to 48 hours of medical stabilization demonstrate significantly better functional outcomes than those who delay rehabilitation. And here's what's really important: the therapeutic intensity matters profoundly. Research indicates that survivors receiving 3 to 5 hours of combined therapy daily show superior recovery compared to those participating in less frequent sessions. Now, I know that sounds exhausting, but this is where multidisciplinary rehabilitation teams come in. You've got physical therapists working on mobility, balance, and strength restoration, occupational therapists focusing on activities of daily living like dressing, bathing, and meal preparation, speech language pathologists addressing communication deficits, and dietitians developing nutrition plans that support brain healing. All of these professionals work together to create a comprehensive approach that address physical, cognitive, and communication challenges simultaneously. Inpatient rehab facilities offer structured environments where stroke survivors receive around-the-clock medical supervision combined with intensive daily therapy sessions. So what's the bottom line? Don't wait. Start therapy as soon as medically possible and embrace the intensity. Your brain is ready to heal. Give it every opportunity to do so. Tip 2, and this one is critical: commit to consistent, repetitive practice at home. Your formal therapy sessions are important, but they're not enough by themselves. You need to practice at home between those sessions to maintain neural pathway activation and prevent functional regression. There's something called, quote, learned non-use, unquote, that we need to avoid. This is a condition where your brain essentially forgets how to use affected limbs due to prolonged neglect. Your brain prioritizes frequently used connections while pruning underutilized pathways. So, regular practice isn't just helpful, it's essential for preserving and advancing your rehabilitation gains. Here's what the research shows. Stroke survivors performing 300 to 400 repetitions of specific daily movements show superior motor recovery compared to those completing fewer repetitions. Now, okay, I know that sounds like a lot, but here's the thing. You can break these exercises into multiple short sessions throughout the day. That makes the volume so much more manageable while maintaining the neuroplastic stimulus that your brain needs. Your home exercise program should target the specific deficits identified by your therapists. For example, if you're struggling with hand dexterity, you might practice picking up small objects, manipulating buttons, or adaptive eating utensils. If you're working on walking, you might practice sit-to-stand transfers, balance exercises, and walking with appropriate assistive devices. Professional supervision ensures your exercises remain appropriate and effective as recovery progresses. All right, tip 3, preventing another stroke. Here is a really sobering statistic. Secondary stroke risk increases dramatically following an initial stroke. Survivors face 15 times higher risk during the first 3 months post-stroke. So understanding and managing your risk factors isn't optional, it is critical. First and foremost, everyone in your household needs to know the FAST assessment. So that is F for face drooping, A for arm weakness, S, speech difficulty, and T, time to call 911, FAST. If you notice any signs, immediate medical attention is crucial. That 3 to 4 hour window allows for clot-busting medications or procedures that can dramatically improve outcomes. Okay, so let's talk about controllable risk factors. High blood pressure is huge. It damages the walls of your arteries and promotes plaque buildup that narrows blood vessels. Managing hypertension through medication adherence, reducing sodium, eating potassium rich foods, managing stress, and regular physical activity significantly reduces your risk of another stroke. Similarly, controlling diabetes through blood sugar monitoring, dietary modifications, and prescribed medications protects your blood vessels from glucose related damage. And lifestyle interventions address multiple risk factors at once. Regular aerobic exercise, such as walking, swimming, or cycling, strengthens cardiovascular function, reduces blood pressure, improves cholesterol, and helps maintain healthy body weight. A Mediterranean style diet rich in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats provide anti inflammatory compounds and essential nutrients supporting vascular health. And if you smoke, quitting is non negotiable. Tobacco use doubles stroke risk through multiple mechanisms, including increased blood clotting and artery damage. And medication adherence is the foundation of secondary prevention. Take your medications consistently, understand their purposes, and communicate with your healthcare provider about any side effects or concerns. On to tip number 4, and this is something that can save you a lot of frustration. Embrace that every recovery journey is unique. Stroke location determines specific functional deficits. Left hemisphere strokes typically affect language, logical thinking, and right side movement. Right hemisphere strokes impact spatial perception, attention, and left side mobility. Recovery outcomes vary dramatically based on stroke type, affected brain region, lesion size, pre existing health conditions, your age, and your individual neuroplasticity capacity. Your rehabilitation plan should be personalized to address your individual challenges. Therapists use standardized assessments to quantify your impairment and track progress objectively. These measurements guide goal setting and treatment planning. I would consider maintaining a recovery journal documenting your achievements, no matter how minor they may seem. This provides tangible evidence of progress during those frustrating plateaus when advancement feels stagnant. Don't compare yourself to anyone else's journey. Focus on your progress, your goals, and your victories. Now let's talk about practical home modifications with tip number 5. Create a safe, accessible home environment. Fall prevention is a critical safety priority for stroke survivors. Balance deficits, weakness, sensory impairments, and spatial neglect significantly increase injury risk. But here's the good news. Home modifications recommended by occupational or physical therapists can reduce fall hazards by 60% while supporting independence and confidence during daily activities. A professional home safety assessment identifies specific environmental barriers and recommends tailored modifications. This could include installing grab bars near toilets, showers, and along hallways where balance challenges occur more frequently, putting non-slip mats in bathtubs and shower stalls, getting rid of throw rugs because they are a significant tripping hazard, ensure adequate lighting throughout the home, especially for stroke survivors with visual field deficits or reduced depth perception. It's suggested that you place frequently used items at accessible heights to eliminate dangerous reaching or bending movements. And here's something important. Environmental modifications work best when combined with physical therapy. Your physical therapist will prescribe exercises targeting the muscles essential for maintaining upright posture and balance. Regular practice of these exercises, combined with proper home modifications, creates a comprehensive fall prevention strategy. Let's move to tip number 6. Explore different therapy approaches and find what works best for you. Traditional rehab therapies form the evidence-based foundation of stroke recovery, but emerging techniques offer additional options when conventional approaches start to plateau. Beyond standard physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech language pathology, there are innovative approaches worth exploring. Constraint-induced movement therapy forces use of your affected upper extremity by restraining the unaffected arm, compelling neural reorganization through intensive repetitive practice. Mirror therapy creates visual feedback illusions that activate motor cortex regions controlling paralyzed limbs, facilitating movement recovery. Aquatic therapy utilizes water's buoyancy to support weakened limbs, enabling movement practice that might be impossible on land. The key is experimentation under therapist guidance. One person might respond exceptionally to constraint-induced therapy, while another benefits more from bilateral arm training or task-specific practice. When progress plateaus with one approach, switching techniques could prove pretty useful. Here's tip number 7, and it's something we truly don't talk about enough. Prioritize mental health and emotional well-being. Post-stroke depression affects 30 to 50% of survivors. That's nearly half of all stroke survivors dealing with depression. And here's why this matters so much. Psychological challenges significantly impede physical rehab by reducing motivation, energy, and therapy participation. Therefore, it's clear that mental health directly impacts recovery outcomes. Survivors receiving psychological support demonstrate superior functional gains compared to those with untreated emotional difficulties. Many stroke survivors benefit from grief counseling addressing losses of independence, career, hobbies, or even identity. Stress management techniques support emotional regulation. Mindfulness meditation trains your attention on present moment experiences without judgment, reducing rumination about past abilities or future uncertainties. Deep breathing exercises activate your parasympathetic nervous system, counteracting stress. Even 5 to 10 minutes daily of these practices produce measurable improvements in anxiety, depression, and overall just emotional well-being. Self-confidence often diminishes following a stroke as you confront physical limitations and dependency on others for basic care. Rebuilding self-esteem requires acknowledging progress, practicing self-compassion, and setting achievable goals that demonstrate your improving capabilities. Your mental health is just as important as your physical recovery, so please don't neglect it. Tip number 8, fuel your recovery with proper nutrition and sleep. Brain healing requires specific nutrients supporting cellular repair and anti-inflammatory processes. Like we mentioned earlier, a Mediterranean-style diet that's rich in omega-3 fatty acids from fish and antioxidants from colorful veggies and berries and B vitamins from whole grains provide optimal nutritional support for neuroplasticity and recovery. If you have difficulty swallowing, something called dysphagia, you'll need modified food textures developed by speech-language pathologists and dietitians. This might include pureed, ground, or soft consistency diets that prevent choking while ensuring adequate nutrition. And now let's talk about sleep, because this is huge for recovery. Quality sleep facilitates memory consolidation, clears metabolic waste from the brain, and optimizes conditions for neural repair. Research demonstrates that stroke survivors obtaining 7 to 8 hours nightly show superior motor learning and functional recovery compared to sleep-deprived individuals. If you're experiencing sleep disturbances, like insomnia, sleep apnea, or restless legs, these require medical evaluation and treatment. Poor sleep significantly impairs rehab progress. Your brain does critical repair during sleep, so give it the time it needs. Tip number 9, build your support network and consider professional home care. Family involvement profoundly impacts stroke recovery outcomes, through emotional support, exercise encouragement, and just helping with daily activities. But remember, caregiver burden, that's a significant concern. Family members providing care experience high rates of depression, anxiety, and physical health problems. This is where building a comprehensive support network becomes so important. Stroke support groups connect survivors and caregivers with others facing similar challenges, reducing isolation while providing practical advice and emotional validation. The American Stroke Association sponsors local support groups nationwide. These peer connections normalize the emotional roller coaster of recovery and create meaningful friendships with others who understand the stroke experience. Professional home care services bridge the gap between the hospital discharge and eventually getting to full independence. Private duty nurses from agencies like Nurse Registry offer skilled nursing care, including medication management, vital sign monitoring, wound care, and therapy exercise supervision. Remember, you don't have to do this alone. Building a strong support network, family, friends, support groups, professional caregivers, and nurses, all of that creates the foundation for successful recovery. And finally, tip number 10, maintain a long-term recovery mindset. Stroke recovery continues for years, requiring sustained commitment to rehab exercises and healthy lifestyle practices. The recovery plateau that occurs around 3 months post-stroke does not represent an end to improvement. It's a transition from rapid, spontaneous recovery to slower, effort-dependent gains requiring persistent practice. Here's a philosophy that helps. Focus on 1% improvement. Instead of overwhelming transformation goals, aim to improve just 1% daily, whether that's increased repetitions, additional steps, or just slightly clearer speech. This compounds dramatically over months and eventually years. This approach maintains motivation by celebrating incremental victories while avoiding the frustration that comes with unrealistic expectations. Consistency matters more than intensity when viewed across recovery timeline. Stroke recovery is a marathon, not a sprint. It demands comprehensive attention to rehab intensity, home exercise consistency, risk factor management, mental health, nutrition, and sustained commitment. These 10 evidence-based tips provide the foundation for maximizing your recovery potential while navigating physical, cognitive, and emotional challenges following a stroke. Success requires patience, persistence, and willingness to seek appropriate support when needed. At Nurse Registry, we understand the unique challenges stroke survivors and their families face during recovery. Our private nurses provide expert care supporting rehab goals while ensuring safety and preventing complications. Whether you need skilled nursing supervision, therapy exercise assistance, or personal care support, professional home care can make a significant difference in your recovery journey. Recovery is possible. With the right support, dedication, and evidence-based strategies, you can work toward regaining independence and rebuilding your life after a stroke. Thank you for spending time with me today on Care Conversations. I hope this episode gave you valuable insights and practical takeaways that you can use. If you found this helpful, please subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit. Remember, quality care starts with quality information. And whether you're managing your own health or caring for a family member, you don't have to navigate alone. For more resources and expert nursing care, visit nurseregistry.com. But thank you so much for listening, and until next time, take care.